Good afternoon and welcome to UCEA nominee interviews. This is Emma Taylor, graduate research assistant and doctoral student at UCEA headquarters at Michigan State University. I am here today to interview Dr. Betty Alford as a part of her candidacy for the UCEA Executive Committee. Today, listeners will be hearing from Dr. Alford, professor at California State Polytechnic University, Pomona. Her research interests include strengthening college-going rates among underrepresented students, studying successful school leadership in high-needs schools, and identifying key practices for improving educational leadership preparation programs. Welcome, Dr. Alford.
Thank you.
Let's begin with the first question. Please tell us about your background and your scholarship as it relates to leadership preparation and practice.
Well, it's an honor to do so for you and to be part of this nomination process. My involvement with UCEA began when I was a doctoral student at the University of Texas at Austin, and I attended the first UCEA conference that I was part of in Philadelphia as a doctoral student. It was instrumental for my development. It was a time of the Danforth Foundation work and the revamping of principal preparation programs, and this was central as part of that conference. And then from there, I became an associate director of a grant at Stephen F. Austin State University and an adjunct professor in their principal preparation programs, and was able to use the funding of that grant to take our faculty to Houston as UCEA again sponsored the Danforth Foundation, but this time centering on key programs and presenters of those programs to look at how do we prepare principals more effectively to lead schools. From that, we made connections with the Eastern Tennessee University, and we were able to do a site visit there to bring them to our campus. And again, you know, a mission, a key element of UCA is the development and improvement of programs in the preparation of educational leaders. And that served in my life early on in my involvement with UCEA. From that, then I continued to present at UCA from 2003 onward, so 20 years of involvement with UCEA. And the mission and values are ones that resonate with me for equity and excellence, for the improvement of programs. We worked on improvement of programs through that first grant, and then later through a U.S. Department of Ed grant for professional development for the improvement of principal programs. And again, involvement in UCEA was instrumental in our program design. And it continues to be at Cal Poly as we went through accreditation and revamped our courses to be much more centered on equity and excellence. And our principal preparation program, our doctoral program already had a super strong emphasis in that area, but we revamped our principal courses and received, full accreditation. So the work with UCEA's mission of preparing educational leaders who champion equity and excellence, who influence policy and live these values that we hold dear of social justice is something that's been instrumental in my career.
Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Alford. You've served for several years as a plenary session representative. Tell us about your engagement in UCEA's governance.
Well, as a plenary representative, I have the opportunity to vote on new members, which I think is so very important. And UCEA has really championed in continuing to grow and bring new members. When I was at Stephen F. Austin State University, we applied as an affiliate member because we only had one doctoral program at that time, and that was one of the guidelines at that time. And then now at California State Polytechnic University, we applied for full membership and became accepted as a full member. And so voting on those, bringing in new universities, and there's an emphasis on universities also now who have served those who were historically underrepresented. And this is great, and something that continues to help this organization thrive. We also, as members of that plenary, had a role with the equity survey that was developed, and then and using that as part of our responses and helping to influence again to gain a picture of where are we now in terms of equity and excellence as an organization and as leadership preparation programs, and that has been great. Currently, I'm serving as a co-director of the Center for the International Study of School Leadership Development, and began this last year at the end of the year, or actually at the beginning of this year as the first full year. So that again, I think these centers are just so important. In the NUCEA early on, where I was attended and presented at the Consortium for Leadership and Ethics, I had a doctoral student who received Dissertation of the Year award from that center. And so furthering the work of centers is one of the things I think is very important as a plenum representative to recognize the importance of those centers in furthering specific goals of the University Council of Educational Administration.
Thank you for sharing that. In what other ways have you been engaged in UCEA?
Well, I've been fortunate to nominate a Barbara Jackson Scholar. I appreciate so much this program for our graduate students. That individual is now a tenured associate professor in Delaware, and that's a good feeling. As I mentioned, I've had a student win the Dissertation of the Year award for the Center for the Consortium of Leadership and Ethics. We have championed getting our students involved. It was so important to my development to be presenting at UCEA, to be attending that even while a doctoral student at University of Texas in Austin. And so promoting that for our students and having them present. It was wonderful being in California that the conference last year was in Los Angeles. So that made it really helpful for being able to get our students there. But it did plant a seed. We have a student who's presenting in Puerto Rico coming up. So these have been very important parts of helping in the development of our students. For the last 10 years, we're now in our 11th year, I've been a member of the International School Leadership Development Network, and that is a network that furthers research. It had two main strands of study of research of leadership in high need schools and of that for social justice, although these are very interconnected. And from that, we have had published chapters in books that have come forth. We've also presented at conferences in Spain and New Zealand and at Belmas, a partner of UCEA in England. And this has been an instrumental network, another wonderful example of how UCEA helps to sponsor networks that promote the scholarship, and very important. And then as part of that, too, we've been part of the Voices Project, Voices 3, 4, and 5. We're now in Voices 5, and that's looking at leadership for racial equity. And it's been an honor to be part of that. So UCA has been a part of my research and my development, but it's also been a way to further the development of our students and our faculty as we help to promote the issues of equity and excellence and to really make a difference in the lives and the preparation of educational leaders.
Thank you. Please discuss with us your scholarship, research projects, teaching, and/or service that can inform the work of UCEA, particularly the work of the Executive Committee.
Well, as mentioned previously, all of my career has been about program improvement. I came into this role at a time, and I had served as a principal, but I came into the role of teaching at a time that there was a huge criticism of educational leadership programs. They were a bit perfunctory. They were criticized as not being relevant, and we have worked very hard, I think, through UCEA to improve the programs. And again, I think the emphasis from Danforth help was instrumental in that, and UCA's involvement in furthering and sharing the work that was being done to revise these programs. But through this work, we've seen the improvement of programs and a much stronger focus on equity and excellence and social justice. Our programs at Stephen F. Austin for the doctoral program centered on social justice. Our program is very similar at California State Polytechnic University and Pomona. Strong emphasis on social justice. And I think in these times when many states are really hampered, even in using words of equity and social justice, that it's even more important that UCEA remain at the forefront of furthering policy that says we are for the improvement of education of all students. We're for opening opportunities and access to higher education for all, and we're about improving programs and keeping them relevant and an important part of the improvement. And I think that the research being sponsored, the research of Voices 3 and 4 led to chapter presentations, but also hearing the voices of the nation at the time of testing and so forth. This current study, Voices 5, hearing the voices of our participants in programs, of ways that programs have helped in their development as leaders for racial equity. These things matter, and they really matter in these tumultuous times when so much criticism of taking a stand for all students seems to be emerging at the national level. So I think that the work of UCEA and the Executive Council in keeping true to the mission and values of furthering research, furthering policy and leadership for equity and excellence, furthering the improvement of educational leadership programs at the doctoral as well as at the principal preparation level. This matters. And I think that my research has been all about these issues. And so this is this organization, and giving back to this organization is a way of my hope to continue the thrust of the work of the UCEA that has been so influential in my life.
Thank you. Share the reasons why you have chosen to run for the executive committee and your vision for the future of UCEA.
Well, I think I have touched on that a little bit, but I do appreciate this nomination. And I do feel like that the Executive Council meets on a regular basis. I think that's been the strength of these research networks I'm part of. They don't just meet once a year at UCEA, they meet regularly. And we meet online and make a difference. And I think with the Executive Council, they also meet in person 3 times. But it's a commitment to saying that I'm going to give back to this organization that's given much, I think, to the profession. I've seen it grow. I've seen it grow in terms of the emphasis and the inclusion. Early on, when I first attended, UCEA still had the vestige of Research One universities only. There's been a real shift to say, no, we're concerned about clinical faculty members. We're concerned about all programs. We want to be an inclusive organization. And I think we have really seen that manifested in the diversity of participants, the ethnic groups that are represented, the Barbara Jackson Scholars. The picture of UCA changed from when I first became part of the organization, and it was predominantly all white male men who were in the leadership positions. We don't see that now. So, as part of the executive council, I would like to continue this thrust to champion equity and excellence, to be the organization that's influencing policy, that's giving avenues for scholarship, giving avenues for service, giving avenues for our ongoing development as professionals who care about the education of all students and work to achieve uh, equity and excellence for all.
Thank you for your time and thoughtful responses, Dr. Alford. This interview will be archived on the UCEA YouTube channel. Listeners can access or share the interview at any time. We also encourage listeners to post comments and questions on this interview in the comments section. Thank you and goodbye.